If you could summarize all the benefits of semen retention into one word, that word would be energy. We often talk about increased energy on semen retention, but when it isn't used, it can make you restless, and in some cases, even lead to insomnia. You may also find that falling asleep is becoming more difficult as it was compared to the times you were releasing. Perhaps you are even in the habit of using sexual release as a means to get sleep. In my own case, I have been retaining since 2018, and the biggest issues I have had since starting has been to do with sleeplessness. I found it very difficult on many nights to fall asleep, or woke up mid-sleep and stayed awake until morning. In the world of biology, the two main draws of one's life energy are cellular maintenance and reproduction. So what happens when reproductive activity ceases and that energy becomes available? It creates an energy surplus. This is of course a positive because it equates to more abundance of life force, though as a result one may become more energetic, more inclined to move, more inclined to think, to exert their will and become a more active individual. A surplus of this life force fills all faculties with vital energy. It charges you. Men who stop the draw of reproductive energy from their system often find that they now have a very large well of energy to draw from for physical or mental pursuits. It allows you to inquire further into problems using deeper analysis. It allows you to push the body further in physical activity. Depending on your lifestyle, you can use this energy to develop the physical, mental, or spiritual faculties of your being. That is why both men of genius and athletic excellence have over history preached the benefits of sexual abstinence for increased performance. When a phone has too many apps open, or when a computer has too many processes running in the background, its speed and ability slows down, sometimes even freezes. This is not much different than the brain. Semen retention frees up resources, and depending on your level of activity throughout the day, you may find the feeling of sleepiness to arrive later. You may also find on semen retention that you are getting by on less sleep and living life with more energy. Gandhi said, "Like the mind, the body must also be kept well and usefully occupied, so that the fatigue of the day may lead to refreshing, dreamless sleep. As far as possible, work should be in the open. Those who for some reason or the other cannot undertake physical labor should make it a point to take regular exercise. The sexual glands are all the time secreting the semen. This secretion should be utilized for enhancing one's mental, physical, and spiritual energy. He who would learn to utilize it thus will find that he requires very little food to keep his body in a fit condition, and yet he will be as capable as any of undertaking physical labor. Mental exertion will not tire him easily, nor will he show the ordinary signs of old age. Just as a ripe fruit or an old leaf falls off naturally, so will such a brahmachari, when his time comes, pass away with all his faculties intact." I think what Gandhi is getting at here is that when the burden of reproduction is removed from the body becomes stronger, less susceptible to illness, slower to deteriorate, and as he says, makes the passage of death become a smoother transition. Although there are no guarantees of a good death, I think a hedonistic lifestyle, or lifestyle where one engages in vice through exhaustion of their vital powers, attracts with it accelerated aging and premature illness. Such people may likely find the end of life to be tied up in much suffering. To avoid all that, one need only avoid vice, and out of all vices, excessive sexual activity is perhaps the most common and socially accepted. A moral life is more conducive of good health, an immoral life accelerates one towards death. Nikola Tesla on sleep. The known celibate Nikola Tesla slept very little. In an interview, he said that a man who performs hard physical labor needs 7 to 8 hours of rest to recuperate, not necessarily 8 hours of sleep. I myself sleep only 2 hours out of 24. This does not mean that I may not assume a recumbent position, but my mind continues to work out its problems. I have often, during such apparent periods of rest, worked out my most difficult problems. In my younger days, I probably slept 3 to 4 hours. When I sleep profoundly. To sleep deeply, profoundly, is an art like deep breathing that must be learned. It is one of the secrets of the East. I think that I've discovered the secret. After a profound sleep, no matter how short, I feel so much refreshed that even now, when I am near 80, I must perform gymnastic feats to subdue my new gained vitality. You would not, the interviewer remarked, recommend 2 hours of sleep or the extreme indulgence in brandy to other men. It is possible, Tesla replied, that my scheme of life may not help others unless it is modified in accordance with one's specific requirements. But it has kept in gear for 78 years the machine which is Nikola Tesla. Many have referred to Tesla as a genius of his time, and talk of where his powers originated from have often been attributed to his celibacy. He said in one of his interviews on the topic of sex, "I have found that the thinker is confronted with the problem of perpetuating either the species or the mind. It is almost impossible, at least in certain realms of high endeavor, to do both." This has been recognized by the Hindus, whose adepts practice complete sexual abstinence, and by many of the great religions. Before I produced the rotating magnetic field, I concentrated all of my powers upon my experiment. The strain would have killed 100 oxen. I certainly could not have survived it if I had permitted my energies to be diverted into the channels of sex. Semen retention is going to increase your energy supply drastically, so you must start to think about how best to use up your available energy. You don't need to use it all, you just need to use enough to avoid the feeling of restlessness that often comes as a result of inactivity. Every day, work yourself to fatigue, and when it comes time to lie down, you will soon drift off into sleep. It is best to take regular exercise in the form of walking, jogging, or working out. The best results of exercise come from being outside or exposed to fresh air. So if you prefer working out indoors, try to have the windows open to allow the breeze in. For those who work physically demanding jobs, falling asleep should be much easier. For those that work in sedentary jobs, a lack of physical activity whilst retaining will very likely cause issues of sleeplessness. Another habit that drastically improved my sleep was charging my phone in a separate room. Every night before bed, I put the phone in the next room, as when I go to sleep in the same room as the phone, I often come up with an excuse to check my messages, or YouTube, or something like that. When I have no access to the phone, that option is off the table, and I end up falling asleep sooner. The blue light and infrared from facial recognition seems to prevent sleepiness. Perhaps it's also the stimulation of a constant stream of information. This is common knowledge at this point, but get the phone away from you as much as possible leading up to bedtime. In 2025, one of the most productive things we can do is limit the stream of information we expose our minds to, rather than trying to increase it. Reduce your phone time. Use it only for necessary work, and you will find not only sleep, but productivity increases immensely as a result. If you rely on your phone alarm to wake up, go onto Amazon and buy a cheap alarm clock. It goes without saying that the longer you sleep in, the later you'll likely become tired. If you have a habit of waking up late, changing it an hour or so earlier will make it much easier to fall asleep the following night. This is not possible for everyone, but if you are able to wake up an hour earlier, you will likely fix your issues with falling asleep. Again, many people on semen retention will feel that they require less sleep. Let your body decide what is the natural amount. Some people have larger bodies that carry more blood and take more time to replenish, where others with lighter, more delicate constitutions will perhaps require less time to replenish themselves. There are no standard hours of rest that can be applied across the board, so you need to learn it through self-observation. For sedentary persons struggling with sleep on retention, I recommend 1. Wake up early and stretch. Do some push-ups. Do a few kettlebell exercises. 2. On your lunch break, try to take walks. A brisk walk of a few kilometers is a great start, but I find about 4 kilometers or more ensures a good night's sleep at the end of the day. 3. If you have time, a proper workout at home or in gym will also help. Even a 5 to 10 minute YouTube aerobics exercise routine is also very beneficial if short on time or equipment. 4. At night, put the phone away. If it's your habit to use the phone at night, see if you can do those tasks in the day and try to do something else such as reading, an activity that doesn't require blue light. If you follow these activities, I think you will find sleep to come with ease. I have adopted these methods and can now, for the most part, sleep a lot easier than before. This is simply a matter of energy consumption. If you aren't sleeping easily, you need to use up more of this energy. Part 2. Strengthening the constitution. For those that are weak in body, the strengthening of our body constitution should remedy many of the issues you are having, whether that be with sleeplessness, anxiety, or the other numerous conditions that stem from excess cerebral activity. Semen retention, in accordance with an active lifestyle, can only be beneficial for the body's constitution. What other practice is there that conserves so much of your own bioenergy to reinvest into your own bodily economy? A weak body constitution will ultimately wield less energy than a strong one. Of course, many delicate constitutions are extremely rich in cerebral energy, but this often comes at the expense of their physical power. A man rich in both physical and mental vitality will require a sound constitution. The number one enemy of a weakly constituted individual is a sedentary lifestyle. The office work culture in today's society exacerbates this problem, as do other factors such as cars, internet, the smartphone, etc. A human 20 or 30 years ago needed to physically move a lot more to get things done. A lot of those things today can be done with the touch of a button. How is it any wonder that young men in the 21st century are becoming increasingly weaker, both physically and mentally? When a man retains his sexual energy and takes up bodybuilding or boxing or any other physically demanding activity, he is providing an outlet for his conserved energy, and over time that energy builds up his physicality. It builds upon the flesh, muscles, bone, and as his mass increases, so does his internal vitality. He becomes more energetic. Please listen to this case from 1903. I have a friend in New York who was once engaged in a sedentary occupation. For years he had taken but little bodily exercise and consequently was low in physical strength and energy. His little boy, born under these conditions, had a splendid brain and excelled in mathematics. The father was a bookkeeper, but was sadly wanting in physical development and vitality. His lower limbs were spindling, his chest narrow, and his whole constitution weak. After my conversation with the father, touching the possible cause, he was determined to see what could be done by a little vigorous training on his part. He therefore took up systematic physical culture, putting in an hour a day in the gymnasium for nearly 2 years, with the result that he gained 25 pounds of solid muscle, and, as he said, twice as much energy, becoming a well-developed athlete. This man went on to father a second son who was born of a very healthy body constitution. Improving your constitution will fix many of the problems in your life. It will make you more attractive, more functionally able. It will balance your hormones. Your mental state too will benefit. One's constitution has very deep connections to one's overall mental state, and often a less than sound body makeup gives the hints of deeper underlying mental abnormalities. Your decision to improve your constitution may also be transmitted to your future children. A man who builds a strong body, it is said, will more than often create the conditions for a strong child. Please consider this description. A sick, nervous, or improperly nourished body makes sad havoc in an otherwise happy home. The mind is greatly hampered by the bad condition of the body. It cannot perceive so clearly nor reason so efficiently. Many an irritating word, many an exhibition of temper is but the result of an impaired physical system. Most self-help philosophy today does not focus on improving the body's constitution for mental health, but the body's constitution shares an intrinsic connection to the mental state. Building upon your physical condition should greatly improve your mental condition. You already unconsciously recognize this connection between body type and brain in others. It is well known that tall, slender men tend to be more cerebral, anxious, and excessive in thought, whereas more fully fleshed men tend to be more jovial and easygoing. Of course, there are exceptions, but often we can make clear distinctions about one's temperament based on their body type. When it comes to excessive masturbation, clear signs of it were said to manifest in a man's physiology. Before the 1920s, this was quite widely regarded and thought to be true. One such book wrote, "Nothing works more unsparingly towards the wasting away of the human organism than this sin. Like a leech never satisfied, it sucks away the sinner's cheerfulness. It kills the roses on his cheeks and extinguishes the sparkle in his eye. For the substance squandered by this sin causes a weakening of the whole system, almost equal to a loss of blood 20 times as great. This substance is of vital necessity, according to undisputed medical evidence, for the internal and external building up of the body to give resiliency to the muscles, strength to the bones, luster to the eyes, keenness to the intellect and other faculties. When this substance is wasted, he becomes a laggard in everything, just as the power of a locomotive will decrease if the fireman scatters the coal along the tracks instead of shoveling it into the engine. Perhaps these ideas are seen as archaic in the modern world, but my experience was completely in line with these old writings. Masturbation affects the physiology. It makes you look older. You may not notice it straight away, but after time passes and releases accumulate, it becomes undeniable. Imagine you pressed a button and every time you pressed it, it took a day off your life. You'd need to press it many times before you started to see your accelerated descent. You wouldn't notice it the first press. Semen release is something akin to that. Each release takes its toll. If you doubt it, then please tell me why females, neutered animals, and eunuchs, who all don't produce and release semen, all outlive man by a significant margin. If your constitution is extremely weak, you will need a longer time frame and more effort to build it back up. If already strong, perhaps it is more a matter of diligent maintenance rather than a lifestyle shift. To build your body, I will quote the great words of Bernard McFadden. Muscular exercise, adapted to the needs of the individual, tends to produce in every case a more normal condition. For instance, if one is too fleshy to be in normal health, it will take off flesh. If too thin, it will add flesh. This ability of physical culture to bring about the highest degree of normal health is exemplified with equal emphasis in sexual life. Those who suffer from weakness in this way will find in specially adapted training the only safe means of cure. As the muscles develop, the digestive power increases, the circulation improves, the nerves are strengthened, and the mind freshened with renewed confidence. This building up of the physical strength affects beneficially every organ of the body. The same can be said for its effects on those suffering sexually from an excess of animal life. This is a disease just the same as the other extreme, and this surplus energy can be absorbed and used to advantage if expended in muscular exercise. Not only does the muscle and nerve power increase, and the general health vastly improve when this method is followed, but the unusual and unnatural strength of this abnormal desire disappears, creating in reality a greater, safer strength and removing the feverish of an overwrought nervousness. Inactive muscles slowly degenerate. Activity is the law of life. Inactivity means decay. Long continued stagnation means death. Some men have the incomprehensible audacity to believe that their muscular system can remain idle indefinitely without losing in the slightest degree that symmetry and strength they have acquired through extreme activity in early life. They seem to forget that an inactive muscle slowly degenerates, grows smaller and weaker, and gradually lessens in firmness and symmetry. The lesson so plainly taught of the wasting away of an unused muscle when a bone has been broken should be remembered. The first time an opportunity is secured, examine the muscle on a broken arm after it has had a complete rest of a few weeks. You will find it wasted almost to nothing. There is no more startling examples of the results of muscular inactivity than this. The entire muscular system will waste away to a similar degree if it does not receive regular use, and it is not entirely this wasting process that is to be deplored. The general vigor of the body is lessened to a similar degree. The nervous organism is weakened in exactly the same proportion, and with this nervous degeneracy, of course, comes the decay of the sexual powers. If you can practice semen retention in unison with frequent vigorous muscular exercise, you should wear down your energy supplies enough to sleep soundly, and over the long term develop your body into a more fully formed, powerful organism. As a result of this improved constitution, sleep should be easier too. For those that wish to take their semen practice to a higher, more beneficial level, then the habits of muscular exercise must be carried out. Try it for a month and see the results for yourself. Good luck.